Okay, so welcome everyone. This is Nadia. I'm the initiator of this event and one of the founders of the organization behind this project. So that organization is called Edgeryders, the collective intelligence company. We believe that collaboration is the superpower of the human species. And so we help groups and organizations to harness the power of collective intelligence to make better choices together, to better understand complex challenges. So the way we do this is we build communities of experts that come from different disciplines and sectors. And then we use Edgeryders methodology and software to turn those conversations into new insights. And they tend to be around challenging topics like how we're going to build resilience towards the effects of climate change, things that no one person or small group can really think of alone. You need collective intelligence. And so this event is part of our work on the Next Generation Internet program. NGI is a European Commission initiative, and it aims to shape the development and evolution of the internet. So we've we're just coming out of a consultation for this project, and the purpose was to identify how the next generation of internet technologies can contribute to a future that's both good for people and the planet, an internet of humans. But digging into the topic, we find that it's really it's about much more than technology. It's a complex web of interdependencies. You have the technological, social, political, you have the environment, you have economics, history, geography, values, culture. And if you pull a lever in any one direction, you really never know what's going to come out in the other end. And so even trying to collect data in one direction, you maybe discover you weren't even asking the right questions. Or maybe you missed key issues because issues matter to somebody else, but not to you. And now we're having this conversation about the future of the internet against climate change and these twin transitions. So this, we know we have to become different, but what would this different future look like? What options can we make for viable, resilient future societies that people actually want to live in, that we want to live in? And in relation to that, how do we define our roles as technologists, as users, builders, and regulators of the technologies that are supposed to help us build those futures? So here's what we do know. We know that different economic systems open or close different possibilities. We know that different people want to live in different kinds of societies. And we know that the outcomes of any choices we make are not entirely predictable. And so in discussing and approaching, in understanding the future of the internet and how we can bend it to build future societies we want, we needed an experimental approach. And so this is what we're doing here. The toolkit that we mentioned in the invitation, it's not a gadget, it's a methodology and well-developed fictional worlds in which we can imagine, develop, and test ideas. So we want to take into account human agency, sociality, and politics. We're people, we want things, we care about things. It balances creativity, plausibility, and rigor. And it needs to cope well, both with order and chaos and emergence. And so this event, the way we're using it is we're experimenting with new events for the kinds of conversations the new kinds of conversations we need to be able to deal with complexity. And this event is a prototype of one of these formats and the tool. It's actually the first time we live test it. So it's super exciting to see how this is gonna go. The outputs we imagine in the future is kind of like startup canvases, but for scenario plannings or testing ideas, how they may play out in different kinds of societies and systems. And then we're gonna, in the future, maybe build immersive experiences where we can visit and test these alternative tech futures. And so, what is this toolkit? Well, we're going to explore it through a game, and the purpose of this game is to pilot fictional societies that are capable of dealing with climate change. These societies are all in the world that we met on our way in, called Witness. And this is a place where the worst of climate disasters already happen. So when you get to this place, you're going to face several challenging events, crises. And together with the other players, we're going to figure out how to steer your part, our part of this world through the challenges so everybody survives. Now, because we have little time together, we're going to measure the well-being of societies only in terms of economy, infrastructure, and public opinion. And so when a crisis happens, it has a negative impact on one or more of these. And then our job is to agree how to react when a crisis happens. So we undo the damage on the economy, infrastructure, or public opinion. We have 3 constraints. So we have to follow the rules, the philosophy of this district, otherwise people will leave. People chose to live in our district because they believe in the ideas and the ways of doing things, so we can't stray too far. We don't know what the effects of our choices are going to be until we make them. So we need to think both short-term and long-term. And then implementation is everything. So we need to think about, how do digital technologies actually help or hinder our ability to implement these decisions we made? Now, the amazing thing is that each district has unique superpowers that you can use. Because why? They have different economies, different social dynamics, and relationships to technologies. Now, we've prepared a number of possible solutions that are only unique to each district. And so when your district faces a challenge, you can either choose between the cards we give you. You choose between the cards we give you, you discuss, you look at, okay, how am I going to solve? What's an approach that works for our society to tackle this problem? Great. What tools do we have at our disposal that we can use? And so after each round, we're going to think about how to use the technologies, how we should use, develop, introduce, or control technologies that are going to support our efforts. And the game ends when we run out of time. We're going to have 15 minutes per round, so 15 minutes per crisis. Or if our economy, infrastructure, or public opinion drops too low. So this game is not complicated. You're going to have a host with you every step of the way to guide you and answer questions. And if you have any questions at any point during the event, please post them in the chat and we're going to help. So time to get started. And then this part is ding, ding, dong, is audio being produced and goes. Okay, we're on a high-speed train. We're stopping at 3 stations. There's blah, blah, blah. Welcome to witness the largest ever seasteading city on Earth. We have ocean views and alternative economies. Our people live in districts the size of cities. Each district has a unique system with different rules for their economy and technologies. And free migration means that the inhabitants of a district chose to live there and they believe in its system. Now, because they're floating in the middle of the ocean after climate disaster has happened, they have limited resources. And this train we are on connects these districts. So first, during this ride, we're going to visit quickly the 3 districts where we're going to be spending our event. And at the end of the train ride, you're going to be dropped off at one of the districts where you're going to be playing the game we have prepared for you. So, ding, ding, dong. First step, over there to the right, you see the district of Hygge. Their motto is, we provide for everyone's needs, no matter how much bureaucracy it takes. Now on paper, Hygge gets everything right, and Hygge makes sure that everything is on paper. Every citizen has their basic needs met, housing, power, water, food, healthcare, nobody goes without. And thanks to prudent public investment, the economy as a whole shows steady, if unexciting, growth. And over to the right over there, we have the assembly. These guys are the ultimate anarchist collective. They came out of a punk band, and they have no need for centralized structures that put power in the hands of a few. Instead of taxation, there's crowdfunding. Instead of banks, there's a kind of socialist blockchain. They are in a permanent state of peaceful revolution, and every individual is expected to be multi-talented, multi-knowledgeable, polymath, working for the common good. And the final district over here, this is the Covenant. So it's an enormous floating monastery. And in terms of economic productivity, it outstrips the most industrial collectives and libertarians. So the fraternities and the sororities, everyone works to bring themselves closer to serenity, to God, and to support the economic sustainability of the covenant. The work generated, the wealth generated from this work doesn't go towards the owners of production, and it's not parceled out piecemeal to the workers. It goes to the ultimate glory of God. Okay, guys, we've arrived. Now you're going to be sent off into your randomly chosen district. And when you arrive, our host is going to take it from there. Thank you from your conductor, and we hope you enjoy your stay in your district. And this is the point where the meta facilitator has to randomly send people out to the three breakout rooms.
But wait, why randomly? Because we are asking them to compile the cards in advance, you know. So
we're going
to choose in advance their district. You know.
I'm pulling an executive decision now to just simplify it and randomly push people out. And we're going to tell them when they arrive that it's okay if you want to choose district, that's okay. We chose to do this to simplify everything since we only have an hour, and people will be fine with it. So we're just gonna randomly distribute people, and they have to deal with that. So Marina, do you know how to distribute people across breakout groups with the Zoom?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
So basically, we need to create all those rooms, and then people. I just select all the people one by one, and then they go into the rooms, or?
Yeah, the rooms are there.
Yeah.
Already selected.
Okay, so we all go. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You know, I won't be able to stay all events, so I don't know if that's an issue. You know, if I'm doing this distribution, I think it should be someone who can stay.
It's John that can take care of the when you leave.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything special because we're just going to tell people, okay, time's up, leave the room, come back to plenary. So,
question.
Yes.
Do they have to be pushed into the rooms, or can they just, do you say, you go to Higa?
No, there's an automatic way of doing it with Zoom, I think, that sends people out to randomly selected rooms. I'm not sure. Marina and John, maybe you can look into this after the call.
Okay, because I don't think there's that feature. Okay, we'll look into it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and now we've been randomly put in Alberto's district. And Alberto, take it from here.
So am I supposed to move to the actual room?
No. We're just assuming we've all been thrown into. Yeah.
We don't hear you.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. The Covenant is undergoing a turbulent time. So available intelligence predicts multiple crises coming, and we must endure. You people have been appointed as the crisis task force of the Covenant under the auspices of both its secular authorities, the district council, and its religious leadership, the Officium Summae Authoritatis. My name is Alberto. I am here as a technical advisor to help you make decisions. Few words about me. I am a monk of a Hyborian order. I have not taken my final vows yet, so you may address me as brother. I would take it as a compliment, or also simply as Alberto. And feel free absolutely to ask me any question. I am quite experienced in advising previous task forces here at the Covenant on matters of policy. So I hope I can do a reasonably good job for you too. So my first advice to you is make sure you download your counselor's kit so that you have all the information that you're going to need in order to make your decision. I'm posting the link right now in the chat. It contains two things. It contains an information pack about our district and witness in general, so for you to have some kind of reference, and a set of possible ways that we could respond to the impending crisis. Such candidate solutions are represented as cards, like cards in a game. And some of these solutions are called regenerative. They have permanent effects. And others are one time, so they produce effects only when you first adopt them. It is important to remember that these solutions might look different from what you are used to, especially if you yourself are not from the Covenant. And this is because they have been developed by your predecessors in former crises and are optimized to make the most of the specific characteristics of our society and its economy. Which brings me to a question I have for all of you. According to my briefing, some of you are not native to the Covenant. Is that correct? So you might be unfamiliar with our ways here. Would anyone here like a 5-minute refresher on the main facts about the district?
Yes, please, Brother Alberto. Tell us about the district.
Right, so the Covenant is, everybody knows the Covenant here on Witness because it's the religious center of the megacity. Its origins are in a decision made early on when on zero-day fracture, Witness that was supposed to be one became many, became a city of cities. And in that occasion, one of the very first leaders of what then became the Covenant adopted a decision that would give extremely favorable conditions to religious organizations if they were located in the district, in terms of taxation, in terms of access to real estate, in terms of religious freedom in general. And that encouraged many organizations from any religion present here on Witness to actually relocate. Now, of course, not everybody is here. People need religion in other districts too, but very many are here. And over time, that led our economy here in the Covenant to become a dual economy. This is because some of the religious traditions have a solid tradition of working as a way to honor God. This was present in Catholicism, in some branches of Buddhism. And so what you have here is religious communities like the monastery, and myself a monk, as I told you, that are also units of production. And the interesting thing about these units of production in monasteries is that they're absolutely non-capitalist, because there is really no law of supply and demand that matters here. We produce to honor God, and of course we also produce to support our work here in our devotion here in our monastery. So that led the Covenant to become a very strong manufacturing hub here in Witness, because we monks, when we work, we really don't cut corners. We try to produce the absolute very best artifacts that we can. Doing less would be a way to betray a religion, so we don't want to do that. On the other hand, we don't really respond to increases in demand. We just produce enough to support our devotional work, and the monks can eat and can have a roof over their head and the church in which to celebrate devotion. So if we make hovercrafts, for example, in my very first monastery, we made hovercrafts, and we only made about 1 or 1.5 a year. That was enough for us. But of course, our hovercrafts were very, very good and very high tech and very durable. And so people wanted them. The result is that some normal secular companies, for-profit companies, just bought one of our hovercrafts, took it apart, and then made knockoffs to sell on the market. So this pattern repeats itself all over the Covenant. We have a dual economy. We have part of the economy is monastic. It doesn't really respond to normal capitalist incentive, and it produces super good, high quality, and quite high tech sometimes artifacts. We can be quite high tech because we can plan long time. We don't really need to make a profit next quarter. We are not capitalist in this sense. And then the second part of the economy is economy that you maybe are more familiar with. It's like a normal capitalist for-profit economy, and but it has the benefit of this this repository of know-how that the monks had. So as a result of that, we have a strongly manufacturing, export-oriented economy here on the Covenant, and think of it as a kind of what Shenzhen was on all the pre-sundering Earth, the workshop, the forge of the world. In terms of technology, there is a specificity of the Covenant, which is that we also have two internets. We have two economies, and we also have two internets. We have an internet which is like a normal internet, more or less interconnected with the rest of the other districts on Witness. I'll say one more thing about this in a minute. But for now, let me go back to the second internet that nobody else has. It goes by the kind of tongue-in-cheek name of the city of God. This is a metaphor lifted from St. Augustine. And it grew out of internal resources online that the monks had started to build. So resources for liturgy and devotion, religious material, messaging systems between monasteries and monks. And as we did that, or my predecessors, because I was not alive at the time, but as we did that, then what happened is that we realized that the internet was great, but it was also pretty sinful. And there is really no point in becoming a monk if you have to interact with everybody and the whole world all the time. So we decided to seclude off our own internet, and everything here is completely fact-checked. Secular people don't have a rights. They cannot write on the city of God. They can only read, so they have access in read only. It's only vetted people within the church, the various churches that are so important here in the assembly, that can provide new content to the city of God. And another decision that we made in the city of God is no AIs. All agency on the city of God is human agency. This responds well to our ethos of human responsibility as a way as an offer to God. Okay, that concludes my presentation of the Covenant. Do you have any questions, or shall we move on to the crisis that await? No questions? Okay, so
sorry, I will play the devil's advocate and say that, okay, I didn't quite understand. So what is this about actually? Can you like summarize? I wasn't listening carefully. I was distracted. I'm a distracted member of the audience.
This is about an economy that is two economies, a society that is two societies, and the digital infrastructure which is two digital infrastructures. They communicate, but they're not the same. One is guided by more or less standard assumptions about societies that you can recognize. Economic activity is capitalist, for profit. There's some non-profits, of course, just like the one you know. Same for the technology. You imagine an internet like the one you have. But the other is very different. The other is driven by other motives, which are self-realization, religious motives, and so that led to high quality manufacturing and a concentration of skills, and a completely fact-checked repository of digital knowledge, super well maintained. Good enough?
Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, then I will show you my screen, and we can start to our job as the crisis unit of the Covenant District Council. Remember that you have access to all the material that I'm going to show through your counselor's kit. Our first event is power shortages. The district goes dark, which means, of course, it doesn't go completely dark all at the same time, but there might be brownouts or intermittent blackouts or whatever. But anyway, we have a power shortage. That affects, of course, our economy and degrades our infrastructure by the fact itself. And so now we should do something about it. And the possibilities that the solutions that you have at your disposal are these. You can see them on my screen, but you can also see them on your own kit. We have several, and do feel free to ask me if you don't understand any of this or some of this, and I'll do my best to try to help you. But basically our job here is to choose one of these solutions and oppose it to the power shortage crisis that we're facing. What do you guys think? How can we best use our specificity of being a dual economy with a strong kernel of religiously motivated people in order to solve the power shortage crisis?
So have you guys done something, have you guys solved something similar in the past? Like crises, how have you guys done it?
I suppose by you guys, you mean all of us, including in fact you.
No, the monks in the district.
Okay. Mute. Well, the monks solve everything more or less in the same way. So we try to be autonomous and self-sufficient. We do that because we are monks, because we need some isolation from the secular world in order to concentrate on our devotion. So a lot of monasteries actually have autonomous power generation facilities. They're not so affected by a system level problem. But also, if need be, we can renounce. We can be content with less. So that's another thing that we do. We can also renounce for the time being while we fix the problem. So we have quite some capacity to invest in infrastructure that will generate a benefit for the future. After all the monasteries were built this way, more or less, by what you in the secular world would call voluntary work. For us, it doesn't really feel like that. It doesn't even make sense. This idea that you sell your time, sell your work time, it is a bit blasphemous to us. But anyway, the bottom line is that we can invest quite heavily without losing faith. We are used to that. In fact, we treat this as an opportunity to offer work to God. I would recommend that you focus on the library of cards that you see in front of you and explore them in terms of, does it look like this could be an inspiration for some kind of solution that you propose, that you want to propose?
Sorry, people are looking at your screen when selecting the cards or in their own kit?
They can do whatever they want. So if you prefer to look at the screen, you look at my screen. But if you want to see, like I would feel the need to go and see the others, because my screen can only show a very few at a time.
So you would have already referenced this page and look at them live on a page, or you would have downloaded them, or just however you get a hold of the cards to review on your own is your own choice.
Yes, so the counselor's kit.
Mute. Please, thanks. The counselor kits contains this link. Let me find the chat.
So in other words, everyone in the initial plenary, everyone gets these links and they assemble for themselves these documents, this stuff to look at?
Well, you can do that, or you can just decide that you want to be looking at the host screen. It's your choice.
I see.
You can also ask
Okay.
me, go down, scroll down, I want to see that, that's fine. But if you want to explore for yourself, remember that Nadia, can you mute, please, when I'm speaking, because it's super bad. Remember that when I gave the introduction, I talked about the Council of Skit and I shared the link. That link contains this link. And it also contains a link to the witness website page about the covenant.
Right.
So with those two things, you have your own references. You can look at them or not. It's your choice.
Right. But I bring it up just not to take up too much time on this, but the prior question about, I wasn't fully listening. Could you explain it to me? I think in this case, because the cards are so central to the whole thing, that it should be like, okay, here's the link. Here's where you can get these cards. Do it now. Or if you don't, you have to look at the screen. In other words, don't take up too much time, but be dead clear about how you get the cards. Because then I'm saying that because if I'm in, somebody comes late or somebody goes, I don't really get it about the cards, blah, blah, blah. Okay, point made.
Yeah, I can tell people to do it during the train ride.
Yeah, something like that. You know how it's UI stuff. Hit them over the head with it.
Okay, but with that being said, we go back to, does anybody want to propose a possible solution to the power shortage crisis? Does anybody want to ask a question about a possible solution?
So I have maybe it's possible like to ask people to use less energy while we're trying to fix the problem. So I think it means that, but I'm not sure. There's this one card called either works of charity, that the ones who have energy can help others, give them energy. You said that all the monasteries have their own small supply of energy. But another one is like the demand type. I'm not sure I understand what that means. I think it means that you just say, okay, this is the will of God and we're okay with it. African style, just go with it.
Actually, no. So works of charity is more a way to redistribute material things. And so it is a way to improve the well-being, the sort of sense of well-being of your society, rather than its infrastructure, even though I agree with you that the two things are connected. The tithe is in the Christian tradition a sort of voluntary tax that people would pay to the church. And what that means is that the church can take on the responsibility to fix things, but it will need to ask for an additional financial effort from the faithful. So in the context of the covenant, where not everybody, of course, is a faithful and certainly not of the same faith, but then it would indeed go into the right direction. So perhaps we could boost our way to transport electricity or generate more, so that we don't have not so much of a power shortage. But of course, people will be a bit less happy because they have to pay this kind of religious tax. I would say the tithe card is a better one than the faith healers, because the faith healers does not really affect the state of our infrastructure. It's just sorry, you didn't.
Is that what you wanted to know, faith healer? No, works of charity. That also doesn't.
Yeah, it was demand type. It was demand type.
Demand type and works of charity, right?
Yeah.
So I would suggest of these two, the type one seems to be more reasonable. Basically, what happens here is that we use our common religious societal cohesion, religion-derived societal cohesion to make an extra financial effort, and then we fix our infrastructure. It's the equivalent of higher taxes.
Alberto, could you switch back to the event, because I don't see how is our society faring at this point. Okay, thanks. So, considering that the crisis has affected only in part our economy and our infrastructure, I think we could play one card that kinds of puts us in a good place for the next possible crisis. So I would play something permanent that reinforces either the economy or the infrastructure without losing the cards for the boost. Is there any card like that around?
Sure. There are several. For example, production is prayer would be one. Again, it doesn't always work, but it means that we use some of our devotional work we channel it into producing infrastructure. It's still devotional. It doesn't always work because devotional work takes a precedence, so it needs to be spiritually comfortable. But if it does work, then so the monks are happy to do this kind of infrastructure building work, then it could work.
And how would it affect the technology in the covenant?
Well, as was studied in the introduction, the second and third order effects of decisions we made are always a bit mysterious. But what we can imagine, since this work is done as devotional work, it will probably be planned for the long run. I would imagine there will be an increase in the resilience of the energy production and transport infrastructure. It looks like a good thing in general to do this kind of work of infrastructure building, not for short-term profit, but for the long-term well-being of the community. So we have so far a demand type idea and a production is prayer idea. Are we close to a decision?
You keep time on that?
No. Because if the discussion is interesting and this one is getting interesting, you don't want to stop it.
So
it's not important to do many rounds.
what do you guys think, Marina? Is there any of these? What do you guys think? Any of the cards you saw that are interesting?
I'm just wondering, like it takes some time to read all of them if you are looking at them in the first time. And then, so each of the participants should say what they think, or they don't need to speak if they don't want, or they can post in the chat, or...
They don't need to speak if they don't want. We're gonna have in the rooms, we're gonna have at least one person who, like I played that role now, who answers, so there isn't a vacuum to get the discussion going.
Mm-hmm. And then we are reaching a consensus, like what the majority has chosen.
Yeah, or if there's no strong objection,
mm-hmm.
then the host, then the facilitator says, okay, it seems we have a consensus on this. Okay, let's move on.
Mm-hmm. And these words under the cards, like infrastructure, economy, public opinion, this means that these cards affect mostly those fields, or?
Yes.
That's correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if we are here talking about infrastructure, let's say, should we pick those cards that, or we can also choose others, like?
Can choose others, but that's a good way of actually structuring it, because if the damage, we should mention that actually, as facilitators. I have to write that down, because if the damage is to infrastructure, then that's a nice way of filtering out.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
look at others? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So everyone in the Covenant district is part of the monastery, correct?
It's on the council.
Or is there an in or out, right? And you know, I mean, is
You're
it
part
like,
of the district, and you've been conscripted into the decision-making body, because this is like military service, but you have to do
Okay.
it to support the district for a limited time, everybody who's new.
Unless
So
he
you
means
might-
the inhabitants of a covenant.
okay, so what I'm getting at is there's a monastery in a town, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Because then if you go in, it's like, well, which one of these? So then your goal is to figure out the economic and sustainable well-being of both together.
Correct.
Okay.
And in a
Well, I
case
would
like this,
start-
it's really not rocket science. I mean, whatever fixes the power shortage is gonna take care of both parts of society.
Got it. Right. Okay. Well, that's an important explanation. I mean, I'm playing the role of the kind of only halfway get it person here. So that's clarifying.
I suppose something needs to happen when we click on the cards, no? Because they're not turning for me.
No, they're not supposed to happen. They're just, you just see them.
Okay.
So power outage, that was affecting economy and infrastructure. So if you want to narrow it down, you can look at the tabs for economy and infrastructure to filter the cards that are going to be best for that. Maybe you're most interested in economy. Maybe you think infrastructure is more important.
No, there are some cards that have both economy and infrastructure. So
Yeah, it's okay. But we just simplify. They're not going to notice. They're just going to pick one or the other. It's really like simplify at this point.
okay.
Unmute myself. In a situation like this where nobody is deciding, I'm just going to say, well, we have two candidate solutions here. Somebody proposed this productionist prayer card, and it seems like a good deal. Nadia proposed something else. Nadia, would you agree to go over to Ivan's proposal that we play productionist prayer? And people will probably say yes.
Yeah, okay.
Which can move me here.
You flip a coin?
No, it's like God. It's like you have to see what God decides.
Yeah, well, that's God decides through flipping coins. Heads.
We get
Infrastructure
with
is there.
infrastructure plus, yeah. That was a very good prayer.
And we move on. Okay, I think we can stop here with the sort of proposal of how to narrativize the game.
Yeah, this is when we go back into. So you played this a couple of times, and then what happens is we're going to debrief. So our first year on the council is coming to an end, and we've barely begun to scratch the surface of this district. There's a whole world left to explore. But to select what we we're gonna need to send an ambassador from our council to tell the story.
Yeah, okay. But, I would like to try to. I would like to try to get. I would like to try to get a feedback from people. So does this work?
I think if you understand the logistics, it helps. In other words, such as if you go to the cards, first thing it does is show you all the cards. So immediately you're thinking, okay, which one is which now? Which are because the graphics are different, but they're not that different. It's kind of, so there's time lost there. So I think you need to choose just which one you go into. And then when you are choosing what card to play, I, or somebody who would be just, a participant, would discuss and decide, but the host actually plays the card in the room. Is that correct? Or the room leader, or whatever you're calling it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I would like, to have some background, like visual background, like science fiction or something that you can use in Zoom, and not see your office room to set the mood.
Okay, but we can
discuss. If you open your kit, the kit of the assembly has got a science fiction image prepared for the assembly. You can use that one.
No, I'm not talking about myself. I will for sure be using, but for everybody.
My Zoom is the Mac version. It doesn't have that feature.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but can we focus on the dynamics of the game?
No, I think it's kind of important, like how people, what kind of mood they have and what expectation they have. If it's a guy at the desk explaining things to them, or if it's like science fiction scenery, then they have a kind of, I don't know, different response probably.
Yeah, nothing we can do about that. So we try to compensate this by being narrative and engaging. This is what I would like feedback on.
Are you explaining at some point the scoring and how it goes and what it means?
Well, in the opening, what we need to just say is there are negative impacts, and I say we don't know what the outcomes are going to be before we make the decisions. So there's a negative impact, but it's not something that we can base our decisions on because it's a little bit random.
So yes,
it's still a game.
Said this in the very beginning, in the presentation. I think interpreting Marina a bit, a good idea would be when you get an event, you can again narrativize it a bit more and saying, look, there is -1 to economy. Our economy is getting damaged because something's happened. That's not a bad point. We are trying to keep people's attention away from the points, Marina. Because
yeah, I understood that.
If you play to the points, it's just a matter of summing, and it's not very interesting. It doesn't lead to any interesting discussion.
Yes,
Plus,
it's just that they are seeing it.
Right. It's a game, or a coin flip. So.
Yeah, these decisions were grandfathered, so were made months ago. We can't change them now. Maybe we would if we could, but we can't. So
no, I understand
the situation we have.
Up to this point, overall, my only feedback would be, not to overstate the point, that the better the more clear the logistics, the more you can focus on the content. And because these are not shallow cards. These aren't Monopoly cards. Pay $10. They're like, it's deep. So as much time as can be spent on the content, I think is crucial.
Yeah, so maybe what I'll do then is point people to these cards in multiple times. So in the email we send people in the morning, we include the link directly to the cards. In the opening of the event, again, we include the link to the cards. And then on the train, again, link to the cards, and then say, you know, you have different, like, I'm just going to put it in their different that you're going to have when you go to this tab, when we arrive at on the train, again, get these, that's your crisis pack, you're going to need it. And I'm not going to point them to the individual crisis packs for the districts, just straight to the cards. And then on arrival again, we ask the room facilitator to say, okay, welcome, welcome. You're gonna need you need this pack.
Right. I think
Yeah.
like it's Friday night for you. Like I would give everybody you can contact the weekend to look at this landscape. And you're either going to randomly assign people to these rooms. So you could say, look, you're going to be assigned to one of these rooms. These are the cards for each room. Study them now so that you understand going in, you know, sort of the deep level that this is where this is going on, right? This is not Monopoly. This is much deeper than that. And I think, again, not to belabor the point, but the better understood in advance. That's what I would want.
Okay. So even maybe we do this, we just package this to send in the morning tomorrow and say, okay, here are the cards. Have a look at them, but something. And like on Monday again, Monday morning.
Yes.
I mean, for us, it's better that fewer people show up, but they've actually read the content.
Well, we have sent them the link to the cards this afternoon. So, I mean,
did you say it will go so much better for you if you read this? We're not kidding.
Let me see what we said, but yeah, it was something similar.
You know, again, that's what I'm just saying. What John Q participant would want.
Okay, tell you what, we can send another email saying with the postcards from Witness, because I made postcards.
Yeah.
So we say, here are the postcards, and while you're at it, you know, check out what makes this district special. Go to this, go to the crisis, the pack for your district. Have a look around. It'll be good. So people like goodies. So we'll just send them some stuff.
The cards are the center of the world of this thing, it looks to me. I mean, they're really carefully thought through and written, and every single one of them is deep as the ocean.
Yeah, actually, what I was talking about was actually like I made postcards that we can send people. Yeah, that we can email, that we can we can send people and say, hey guys, here's a postcard from Witness. And I can do that tonight. Actually, add a link in the postcard. Okay,
you see if you want to do it. Yeah, it could be spamming because we, like an hour ago, we sent them the leaflet with the introduction to Witness and the link to the cards. So perhaps tomorrow, not tonight.
Yeah, tomorrow. But we can send them a postcard.
Postcards are pretty, so.
Okay,
two more things. One is, so I have Matteo Buzzoni and also in theory Alessandro Mambelli, even though he since disappeared, so I don't really know what to think about that. Who
Yeah, he
agreed?
did not answer to anything, any message I sent him also.
No, he did not. I would suggest the following. We do 3 rooms. Each room has at least 2 people from Edgeryders. One to do the kind of dog and pony and the narrativizing and the audio part, and somebody else is on the chat and the host interface. How's this idea?
Agree.
Fair enough.
The alternative is to try to have 6, but I doubt we have 6 people.
No, I think we should just stick with 3. Anyway, the vast majority are not going to talk, and let's not complicate things.
It's just like having a help desk. Somebody, you know, there needs to, if you only have enough people for one, or if that's, you know, direct, if somebody goes into the chat and says, okay, I'm in the room, but, you know, I have a, you know, basic question about the logistics, then, you know, even if it's one person, you got that covered.
Okay.
Shouldn't be the same person doing the dog and pony and the logistics. This is what I'm agreeing with.
Well, it's difficult. For example, when I was sharing my screen, you saw that sometimes I looked at the spreadsheet with the effects of the cards. And that is something that kind of is useful to be able to do if you're hosting, because you maybe have not memorized all the effects of all the cards. But then that's not something you want to show to people. So
Right.
I would have my own browser configuration here if I'm hosting, and somebody else would be sharing their screen, which never sees that. But then they don't need to know because they don't get asked questions about cards. I do. So that is the reasoning. Also, we know that there are some people that are a bit more active and sympathizers, and we can seed them into the room, so we have a bit of a seeding of the debate. But that is that was an idea of Nadia, but it's in contrast with the randomization of the people into rooms.
No, but we can push them in. Like we can also.
She said we can also allocate. Okay, anyway, I'll let you guys from the main room take care of it. The second thing that I want to point out, and I know we have Owen in the call, is that there is a bit of a glitch in terms of, maybe you've noticed that 2 things happened here. And one is that the game didn't start, the match didn't start at 0.
No, but that's because we did not clear the match.
Yeah, you have to basically clear the database before you begin a match if you want to start from 0.
We will do that on Monday.
So that's why, yeah.
And how do you do that?
You remove the cards. You remove the cards from the policy. Click on the right click, click them, and click on the X that appears.
Mm.
Yeah.
Actually, don't do that. Sorry, Alberto. Can you go back?
Back to what?
Actually, can you undo what you just did? Let me see.
I don't think so.
Okay, don't worry about it. But what you should do is just select the cell. Like, don't click on the actual like name of the card, but just click on the cell like in Excel, like in an Excel sheet.
Yeah, it's the same though, huh?
Can we please not have multiple people messing around with these the spreadsheets, because if there's any error anywhere, we're going to have a problem. So we need to have just one person that does that.
Yeah, Owen does it on Monday.
I'll do it, and it's pretty simple. You just like, if you click on an empty cell, and then just navigate with the arrows, it's easier. But I'll do it.
Okay. The other thing that happened is that not all the graphics loaded. Nadia?
I'm listening.
Yeah, can you mute?
Sorry.
That's not necessarily a big problem, so fair enough. But What happened now? Now the card art loaded, but before it didn't. Again,
Yeah, the images I've noticed are very, very large in size. So like that makes the load time kind of slow. I mean, you're loading like, I have to check the console, but it's like 20 megs or 30 megs of images. So when we assign the images,
I can try to, I can look at that. I know how to update the images, so I'll try to get more.
Yeah, I'm guessing like for the event, we're going to have to update quite a few of the images because there are a lot of cards with the same images. So anyway, I can help with that if necessary.
So question about the play. In the breakout rooms, how many questions do you predict there will be time to consider? Like, I mean, I guess it would depend, but, you know, I mean, do you think each one will take 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
I predict each one will take 20 minutes, and
okay, so that's
you
3.
play 2 to 3 rounds.
We're
Gotcha.
cutting them, we're trying to keep them to 15 minutes, maximum 20 minutes per round. And we're going to need someone to time keep. Of course, if the discussion goes really, really well in one round, we don't cut it off. But all in all, no longer than 40 to 45 minutes in total.
Right. So that's another thing that people should understand, because it's, again, this is such speculative work that it's kind of easy for someone to get a little bit lost in the thought of it all.
Yeah, so just to briefly, when you're on a cell, okay, I'll mention this another time maybe, but just hit the delete button on the keyboard and it'll erase the cell. Like you don't want to right click and delete the row. That's kind of important. I just put it back, so.
Quick mention, you were asking about background image. So I just uploaded, I just shared a link there, and there you can download image you can use in the background, like the one I have and Alberto has. So there's one for each district and one which is generic. Alberto has a generic one. Okay, is that what you were asking?
No, I'm prepared to make any kind of background. I was just asking that everybody should have a background rather than their own room to kind of get the people in the mood.
Okay, yeah. So there are backgrounds now, and I asked that everybody uses them for the event because it's consistent. Then there's one for each district. So I would say the host of the district room and people who are kind of seated there should have it in the background. There's one for every district. Or use the generic one. I made these for those purposes. So.
Sorry, I can only see the generic one.
No, if you click on the link that I shared,
yes,
there's a folder. And from there, you can download all of them.
The links opens only one picture for me. I don't know why.
Me as well.
Yeah, same.
Still one picture only.
Sorry, where are we? I can't actually see what you're doing, so.
Well,
it should be okay now.
Yes.
Can we test the thing before we end? So here in the breakout rooms, there is an option automatically move all assigned participants into breakout rooms, which means I think that also hosts will go everywhere, or I'm not sure if they will. So could we give it a try and see what happens?
Yeah, sure.
And there's another option, allow participant to return to the main session at any time. Should we allow that or not?
Yeah, sure.
There will be someone in the main room.
Yeah, it would be good if we did have it. I think what it makes sense to do then, since Alberto is going to be like opening Covenant, maybe Boyan, you could do that. Because we need someone to take over from Marina when you leave also.
Yeah.
To be in the main room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always be in the main room and maybe like check in.
But
to
so,
place-
okay, just to understand, in that case, I don't host any room, or?
Yeah, I think it's easier because Alberto can host the Covenant room. Let's figure out how to do this, but it's a good idea that we have someone in the main room at all times. Also because there will probably be latecomers that show up.
Yeah.
We agreed with John that he would do that, you know.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's
that's true.
John.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
as,
I
as,
missed that part.
as best I can.
Sorry,
You have to-
I missed that.
Yeah, we have to understand I have certain limitations, parenthetically, because I thought that I was going to be up at my house where I have a good Wi-Fi connection, but instead I had to come down here because I have to drive to the state capitol on Monday right after this to go pick up this apostille I did related to shareholder business, right? So it just happened to fall on the exact same day and I have this tight little window. So I'm down here, and so I'm going to be probably doing a combination of my phone and my laptop. And
Oh,
I'm
no, we
actually
can't really risk that. We can't risk that. So Boyan, then you need to be, can you do that? Because we absolutely cannot risk any glitch, any connectivity issue, any interface. It's too risky.
Yes, I have contingency plan. If this happens, I switch to my mobile data. So I'm fine with that. Sorry, I was a bit late, so I don't understand now. So the final decision is 6 rooms in total?
No, 3.
3.
Or did I miss something? I think 3 is the most solid. And I mean, if we see that it's too many, I guess we can then split people out. But anyway, at least in the beginning, it's not going to be that much discussion. And if everybody's in one of the 3 rooms where there are main hosts, at least everybody hears the good introduction and the first round, and then can be split off because they understand. We don't want breakout rooms with hosts that are not very familiar and can't do the storytelling well enough. So let's start with the 3.
Yeah, guys. So basically, today Nadia and I had a all-day crisis meeting, more or less. A crisis being we are caught in the crossfire between having too many signups, which is a good thing, of course, and not enough moderators. This doesn't really work as a game, so it needs to be more like a world-building game, and there's going to be a lot of storytelling that is unfortunately also economics-based and technology-based, and we are trying to make it a good spectator sport. It is not realistic that we can have everybody kind of get super engaged and be an active player. We would need rooms with 4 or 5 people for that. And if we are looking at 70 participants, which is already kind of optimistic, then we would need 7 of those. We can't man them. So what we do is we do something that is more, the goal is for people to say, well, that looks interesting. It's like, not I had a great fun, but it's kind of interesting, and I want to see where it goes. And to do that, we spectacularize it a bit. So we have bigger rooms, less participated. It's not ideal, but I think it's what we can do.
Okay,
and
I would
give you this kind of dog and ponies, and I'm asking for feedback. Is like, is this engaging enough? Is this entertaining enough? Because if it isn't, then I don't really know what to propose. This is the best I can do. And to do better than this, you'd need to be an experienced world-building game player or master. We have some, we know people like that, but they're not going to be on the team, with one exception, which is Matteo Guzzoni, who is a professional game designer, teaches in the States. But he's the only. And he said, I can do this, but it's not going to be like an engaging experience like playing a game. It's going to be a spectator sport.
I would only suggest that then each room has another kind of a co-host who will take care of the chat.
That was already said. In fact, I would say the chat and the screen with a game interface.
I think the better understood each of these districts is, the more likely any given person will be to actually engage, right? Like take the Covenant, for example. You know, it's kind of complex. It's a dual economy and monastic. You know, I mean, it's a lot of things to kind of get your mind around before you figure out what a path forward might be. So again, the better understood the basic lay of that land, so to speak, is, the better I think it will go, because it's going to hinge on participation in discussion more than it being a super fun game per se.
Exactly. And anyway, with this crowd, it's not going to be everyone who's playful. Like, there's a lot of passive consumption, which is why I was putting a lot of work into the storytelling, and I'm making like audio stuff. People will want to just hear something interesting and discuss, but the storytelling has to be solid.
It does, but because, you know, it's actually a really interesting, well thought through intellectual framework. You know, I mean, this thing has really is a product of really deep thought, and it's about the most serious business on earth today, and in the service of people who are trying to actually figure out what to do about it. So, you know, yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is, since the storytelling is super important, I'm gonna like make a kind of executive decision where Alberto is hosting the Covenant. I'm hosting and opening the Hygge, and Ivan, I'm gonna ask you to do the assembly, because you're as familiar as myself and Alberto with the storytelling basis. I don't think it's realistic to expect you all to do it in such a short time. And then
can we add Frank to as assistant to Alberto? Matteo Guzzoni perhaps as your assistant, and I can have you in the assembly.
Yeah. Yes, and in assembly there's also going to be Tim Reutemann, who's going to be reading up on the assembly a lot as well.
Nice, looking forward to work with him.
Yeah, so I would say Juho really more like Ivan and Juho really more focus on the cards. Make sure you both understand the cards really well. And kind of like go over again how Alberto set up his part of the present, his like part of the thing today, and kind of use the same format and really put effort into the storytelling.
About assigning people to the rooms, you said, well, does Zoom have a random generator? But we don't know that yet, or maybe we do. But what if you look at the list and just pre-assign everybody to something? You know, you be the randomizer, and then when somebody shows up, I don't know, maybe that's too much work, but I don't know if Zoom actually.
I'm not sure if that's technically possible, John.
Well, I mean, it will
you
send
can't
people to a
pre-assign people
room.
to the rooms before they join the call, you know.
Yeah, but let's do this test. We have here this feature, assign randomly people. I can just click on it now and see what happens. I'm just wondering if the co-hosts are going to stay in the plenary and then choose manually, or we are all going to be randomly assigned.
Just
so
do it.
Let's see what happens. Right. It should boot us out of here. When we did the remote work stuff, Rowena handled all this.
So what is happening now? What are you seeing?
Nothing is happening.
Nothing. You have to make the breakout rooms first, don't you?
I'll kill the breakout rooms here and redo them again. Oops. Okay, Supreme. Yes. And yes. And yes. And yes. So let's.
Might be that it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Try. We can have Alberto, I really would like you to do Covenant, please, because it requires really like in-depth knowledge about monastic stuff and history and all of this stuff, and you do it really well. All of us have kind of relationships with like punk. I'm doing Hygge because I understand the Nordic model quite well. It's like.
No, it doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't do anything. It's still manual.
Yeah.
Then.
I think what's automatic is that when you assign somebody to a room, that he automatically or she goes there.
Yeah, that's the automatic part.
I think that's right. So you got to.
Or maybe we are all co-hosts.
No, there are a couple who are not. 3 people are not co-hosts.
Okay, so we need 2 hosts or 3 hosts to be assigning people one by one, so they're splitting the workload and can do it quickly. Need to figure out how that can work.
Wow, yeah.
There's another question for like mics. Sorry if I don't know about Zoom, but if somebody's mic is on, can you just turn it off, or you need to be a host?
You can set the settings that people are muted on arrival and don't have their video on. I think I put that setting. And you can also mute people. The host can mute people.
Okay, I think I understand. I think somebody's now playing with breakout rooms, but it's like we can assign people before opening breakout rooms. And when we open breakout rooms, they automatically end up in the, because now I see that rooms are closed, but Alberto is already assigned to assembly. But if we open the rooms, Alberto, you were now in assembly, right?
I assigned him to assembly earlier, just to try if it works.
Yeah, so that's what we can do. We during the introduction speech in the main room, we just assign people randomly to the rooms. To see, I can do that. To see that in each room there is a kind of equal number of participants. And then when we are ready to open breakout rooms, we just open them and they automatically end up there.
That's it.
There's even a feature pre-assigning breakout rooms during scheduling. I'm looking at the Zoom blog. The link is in the chat.
During scheduling, what does it mean?
Well, if you already, okay, you already would need to know who the participants are, which you probably don't.
Yeah. That's probably when people register. But yeah, they did register. No, no. Not
So
with
not on
Zoom.
not on
Yeah,
Zoom.
not
Not
on
on
Zoom.
Zoom.
And we want them to join the plenary in the beginning and not the breakout, because there's the introduction and everything.
Well, I mean,
Right.
if we want to make it that people, if it makes our lives easier, we can say, okay, people sign up to the Zoom. You put in your
No,
name and email. No, okay.
Too
As
much
I
communication now.
recall, when we did the remote work stuff last year, Rowena figured out ahead of time who she wanted to go where. And so when the time came, she worked, I mean, they just went, you know, she and Maria, it was just like, zap, you go.
Marina, do you have any time to just reach out to Rowena and ask her? She's on the platform.
Do you remember if this event was, registration was via Zoom? Like they had to register on Zoom?
I don't recall.
There was one where we registered. I'm not sure if that's the one.
No, it
Because
was
then-
Eventbrite.
But look, the introduction is 5 to 10 minutes anyway. So in 5 to 10 minutes, I can do, even if it's 200 people that everybody comes. In 5 minutes, I can
that's
make
true.
200 clicks. So
Well, hang on. Why don't we do this? So when I'm like choo choo train, you know, you'll need your packet. What I can say is, okay, take. They'll need to know which one they're going to, though. So I was thinking it could give them a little time. It could give us a bit of time if people are reading through the cards while we assign them to different rooms.
You wouldn't like let people choose their own room?
I mean, you can do that if you want. I'm just concerned that there would be like 50 people in one room and like 3 people in another.
Right, that's a real concern. It's better to send people. They're all smart people. They're all thoughtful. Anybody who shows up for this thing ought to be able to hang in any one of these rooms.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just really just trying to think about what's going to not eat time and minimize confusion and any additional steps.
Right.
I can see the automatic option. If you click on
Yeah, but
breakout rooms, recreate,
it
assign
simply,
automatically.
yeah, but it simply does not give you the option to choose or not. When the host says that you have to go, you just go. You know, if you we tried that with you earlier. You know, when I sent you to the assembly, you would not have any option to accept if you will go or not. You know, and that was.
Yeah, but what we can do is that the hosts can, we know which rooms we're supposed to be in. So if you say room 1, 2, 3, or like just name them assembly, covenant, hygge. If me, the host, end up in the wrong room, I just go to the other one. I can see the name of the room. So everybody's sent off randomly, and then us hosts just check that we're in the right room. If not, we go to the other room. They won't know.
Yeah, I think what Bojan suggested, I think this is the best thing, because we will have at least 10 minutes in the beginning. Everything gets prepared, and then we just click and everyone goes where they're supposed to.
Ah, okay. So you can do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have really enough time because we are not all speaking at the same time. And while you are giving the background, that's already a lot of time to do this work.
Okay. You want to put Alessandro and Matteo in different places?
So do you have do we have an idea for, is there a district that is more chosen than others? Do you have this
No
feeling?
clue.
No idea.
No, I think with Alessandro we need to speak. He is could not make it today, and he just messaged me, and so we will need to get in touch during the weekend with him and see how far advanced he is. The recording that we are doing now, or maybe we already finished it, was requested by Matteo. Matteo can do his own thing.
Okay.
But then please somebody stay on top of this and make the team so that we all know where to go and who is paired with whom, and everybody knows what to do. I will of course check in.
Yes, I'll be on top. I'll be on top of this without any problems. There is an important part that we are forgetting. Monday morning, there's a prova generale. There's a general rehearsal. So, and that's the thing where everybody should be present just to see if everything goes smoothly. So it's another moment for them to join.
What time will that be?
So I schedule it. Yeah, for you it's going to be a bit difficult, but it's there is not going to be external participants, so it's not a problem if you don't show up because you perfectly understood how the dynamics work here. That's
understood.
Like
so
so you're good. You're good to go. It's from 9 to 12. I kept
Same for Matteo, who is in New York.
Okay.
Should we maybe
So
then change the time then for the test so it actually works for Matteo, because it's kind of important that he participates in that. If he can
the event is at 2. We can do the general rehearsal, but a couple of hours earlier.
Okay, so what I would do is we have people who are hosting show up also an hour before to do a tech check and also just do a final run through.
Sure.
With Owen, ideally, so any glitches, any problems with interface, anything we can check.
This
last
minute changes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's stop here. It's quite late.
The event in Brussels happening as well?
No, it's COVID. We are COVID lockdown, so we had to cancel it today.
Oh.
Yeah, I was wondering. So it's 100% Zoom.
Yeah, it's going to be, everything is going to be on Zoom. There is the event that will take part. There's one event that is going to take part, to be held in Berlin and another in Paris, but not on the same day.
Yeah, those are organized by other people. So Chris Adams was like, I want to do something in Berlin. I'm like, okay. So I sent him the cards.
Right. Wow. Well, okay, real life.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I'll try to contact triangulate with Alberto about Alessandro and Matteo. Juho, perhaps it would be a good idea to see each other tomorrow at one point, you and me. And for the rest, let's hope for the best. Huh?
Yeah, Ivan, I will keep in touch with you regarding my status and all. I agree about the early meeting that since Matteo wasn't here this time, get him, make it work for him. He's 3 hours ahead of me, so it's going to be midnight for me, 9 a.m. your time. That's 3 in the morning for him. So, you adjust front or back.
What is 2 p.m. in Brussels, in New York? Do you know?
2 p.m. in Brussels is 5 for me and 6, 7, 8 for him, right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2.
So unless he pulls an all-nighter,
9 for me.
Unless he pulls an all-nighter, he won't be joining any general rehearsal.
Unless we do it with him separately and
Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, ideally Saturday.
Okay,
some session with him, I think, would be nice, and it's always fun to do anything with him. Like world's funnest guy.
This is true.
He is the funnest person I know. Period. Absolutely. So, okay, this has been extremely beneficial for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you, John. And thank you all of you.
Thank you. Ivan, let's be in touch tomorrow. Today it's
sure.
Thanks, guys. See you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Hi, Owen, and bye.
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 Ciao, ciao.
You, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Juho, you're still there, Juho.
Mislim,
My observer screen is also Juho. Can you hear me? Bah, ne, koga jebe. Znaš šta? Boli me kurac. Stop. Okay.